Well, today I want to share with you some quick tips, ideas, and gear items to point you in the right direction to make your next Alpine hike an amazing experience. Well, hey folks, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another episode here at Gideon's Tactical. I'm your host, Aaron, and I am so blessed to live in a state in the Rocky Mountains that allows me to get up real high and see the world in a completely different perspective. It's an amazing, amazing blessing, and it's really breathtaking that I have this opportunity to be able to do this. And for many of you, either you travel to be able to get to places where you can do alpine hiking, or you also live in parts of the world, parts of the United States, or just the planet that allow you to really get out there and really enjoy a perspective and a level and a height of the outdoors that most people don't get to enjoy. Now, for me in the Rocky Mountains, I consider alpine hiking between 10,000 and 14,000 feet. Depends on the day, depends on the trail. I can get to those altitudes without a problem. Here in the state of Colorado, we have, I believe, 52 14ers, which means 14,000 feet or higher. I've been able to do about 8 of those over the course of my life. My brother, I believe, has done almost 24 of them. And so we've enjoyed that, but also just getting up high. You know, 10,000 feet is about at tree line, 11, you know, definitely you're getting up to into tree line, and there's amazing views even at those levels. So with this, guys, let's go ahead. First thing to think about is altitude sickness. When you get up high, particularly if you're not used to that range and that level, altitude sickness is something you absolutely need to think about. You can get headaches, you can get lightheaded, nauseated, and just really fatigued real quick. So if you're from a much lower altitude and you're planning on doing an alpine hike, make sure to try, if at all possible, get to your location a couple days early just to acclimate, get, you know, maybe take some walks and that type of thing as high as possible, maybe even at the base of the trailhead where you're going to be starting out. And if you're doing a 14er, you're just doing a long, maybe backpacking trip, whatever, you know, try and do maybe some light jogging, that type of thing, as much as possible to acclimate your body. And then things that I always make sure I have when I'm on the trail is plenty of food, plenty of water, and then some sort of headache, you know, ibuprofen, Tylenol, whatever, you know, fits your system and your body, you know, what your body can handle well, to fight against that and to be really aware of your body. You got to know that if you're starting to feel a little lightheaded, if you're starting to feel a little, you know, woozy, that type of thing, you got to be chugging water, you got to be getting food in you. Electrolytes are really good, and to be taking that Tylenol or painkiller of some kind, just to kind of help, you know, with your blood flow and all of that, and to be communicating with those who might be with you. Tell them, hey, I'm not feeling too hot, guys, just want to let you know, because the last thing you want to do, and people have had really serious problems with altitude sickness, so you want to combat that whenever possible with some of those simple, easy techniques and communication with the team that you're going with. Now, the next thing on the docket is to have a really good, well-prepared, but lightweight survival kit. Now, I'm going to have links in the description below over to Blade HQ as well as Amazon. That's a great way to help support the channel for a lot of the gear we're going to talk about today. So if there are gear items that stand out to you, like, ooh, I need to check that out, just click those hyperlinks right below in the description, and it'll take you over to Amazon or to Blade HQ, and you can check out a lot of those items. It always helps us out to help me get out here and continue to make content just like this video. So I appreciate you guys using those hyperlinks. But that lightweight survival kit is key, and the things to think about in that lightweight survival kit is a backup battery system for your phone, because you need to have your phone on you. Most high altitude locations, at least in the continental United States, will have cell phone coverage, even if you're down in a valley or even at your trailhead if you don't really have service, and you know, at all. If you get up high enough and you're at that high altitude, you can usually catch a satellite, and I usually have either LTE or very high 3G, so I can get phone calls or text messages. So if there was an issue, a problem, somebody got stuck, you can get up there. But the last thing you want is for your phone to die on you and you have no way to recharge it if you need some help. Hands-free illumination is a huge part of that survival kit, so you can scale and climb, and you know, if you're carrying somebody, whatever. So a really good solid headlamp. We have O lights. There are Princeton lights that are really good, that I'll have in the links below, that are really inexpensive, really lightweight, but really work well. So hands-free illumination is key. And then exposure protection, meaning A high visibility thermal blanket, space blanket would be amazing. That would be a great thing to have. You could opt for a lightweight, high vis tarp. That's another really good thing. And some sort of like rain poncho in there, something like that, so that if you get trapped, if you get stuck, you're gonna be out and exposed more than likely. If you're doing alpine hiking, you're gonna be getting hit with wind. You're gonna be getting hit possibly with rain. Here in the Rockies, we get rained on almost every day if you're out there at a peak. So those are things you absolutely need to consider putting into your lightweight survival kit. And just like the planes that are flying overhead, high visibility, either orange, red, yellow, is really key, not only in some of the gear you might be wearing, your clothing, but also to have something like that to wave down, people, signal mirrors, that type of thing, so that if aircraft are flying over there either looking for you or they just happen to be flying over, if you're stuck, you're trapped, you're lost, you're injured, whatever the thing may be, that you can easily signal that person. This is not a time to practice your camouflage and evasion techniques. And when you are alpine hiking and going to peaks, I argue that you need to be high vis in case there's an emergency situation. It's easy for people to spot you. So again, I'll have links in the description below with several of these items that I could recommend to you that I'm sharing with you that I use when I do my alpine hikes. Now, I alluded to this part earlier, fluids. Carrying water with you is going to be key because you're going to probably be going long distances. You're probably not going to be hitting lakes. There is a possibility depending on the trail, but the water sources will probably be less than what you're going to find down in valleys, down on lower plains and altitudes. Whereas up high, this is where all the snow is either melting or has already melted and trickled off and is either in the groundwater and in the ground water table, that type of thing, and has already passed, or it's going to be very small streams and more than likely. So water is something that you really got to think about. For me personally, I like to make sure that I have a large, either 70 or 100 ounce water bladder that I know is not going to leak, that I can rely on, so I can keep hitting that while I keep walking and keep trekking, that I'm not constantly having to take my pack off and get into water bottles and that type of thing. But then I like to have a water purifying system, and I usually take with me my Sawyer water bottle, so I can just scoop it up in a very small, low flowing stream or creek that I might come across. And if I happen to hit a lake, great. And I can even scoop up snow and put that in there and let it melt for me. There's a lot of different ways that I can use this bottle, but it's a quick way to purify water. And if I did get stuck out there for a day or two, I still have that ability, but it still functions as a water bottle. So I can start at the car with clean water in it. Then as time goes on, because it's a water purifier, I can scoop up dirty water and drink straight out of it. Other options would be iodine tablets, different things like that that exist out there that you could consider. Life straws, survivor straws. So there's a lot of options out there. For me personally, again, I like to use the Sawyer water bottle, and that's usually my system. But make sure whatever you think you might need, I would go with another 32 ounces. That's what I do personally. Now, I drink a lot of water, but that is something that I would recommend to you. If you're like, oh yeah, I mean, I can do it with 64 ounces of water, great. Add another 32. At worst case scenario, you get to the peak, you have extra water, you dump it out, and you don't have as much to worry about when you get back down the mountain. But that's something for me that I always make sure that I have plenty of water, because that's the last thing that I want to be running out of when I'm up there at high altitudes, possibly dealing with a little bit of altitude sickness, and I'm out of water and I have no water sources around me. Next up is medical. This is really important. It drives me insane, and I just feel bad for them, because here in the Rockies you hear about it almost on a bi-weekly basis. Hikers and backpackers getting trapped out somewhere at high altitudes, getting injured, falling, breaking a bone, maybe getting an impaled injury. They fell and they impaled their arm or leg in a stump or in a log or whatever the thing may be. Injuries, and then they're stuck up there, and they're stuck up there possibly for days, almost die, and a helicopter has to come save, blah blah blah. Medical kit. And I see these people oftentimes on these alpine treks, and they're carrying like a Nalgene bottle and like a little fanny pack with some granola bars in it. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I sure hope I'm not gonna see a helicopter coming when I hit the vehicle at the end of the day, flying up the hill to try and save you because you got stuck or injured and you have no supplies. So medical kits, and a well-supplied medical kit, I believe, is super key anytime you're out in the woods, but particularly on an alpine adventure. Again, painkillers is a good item to have with you, but include things like antihistamines in case there's a swelling issue going on, to help fight against swelling, feet, blood vessels, that type of thing. Your hands will often swell up when you get up to higher altitudes like that. Different things, but definitely a really good tourniquet, a really good blood clotter in case there was some sort of really bad gash, cut, injury, that type of thing. Ace bandages is really key as well in case you have a sprain, because that has actually happened to me. I didn't quite sprain it, but I really jacked up my knee, and if I didn't have some of the medical supplies that I had on hand, it would have been a really long, really hard way down. So include a really good, well stocked out medical kit. I have tons of videos on that if you're not familiar with what good items are, and be familiar with how to use them and deploy them. Tourniquets and blood clotting material, know all the risks, do all that, but take some time, be smart, and have a really well stocked, well supplied medical kit that you are comfortable with using. That is a must when you're doing alpine hiking. One of the most important pieces of gear, I believe, on an alpine hike are trekking poles. Now, I use Mountain Smith trekking poles. I've had a couple different versions. Really like, I can't remember it off the top of my head. I think it's the 7075 Pyrites, I believe. I'll have, again, links below, annotated in right now. But man, trekking poles are lifesavers when you're going alpine hiking, because when you're doing alpine hiking, you're going up really high, steep angles, and then you're going back down steep angles. And that is really important to have those, because when you go uphill, you can use them as a secondary kind of pull-up. So you're always pulling, so you're using your upper body and relieving the muscles in your legs, but particularly downhill will save your knees for a lifetime when you extend those trekking poles, and you can almost like run down the hill, kind of lean into them, and they are so beneficial when you're going downhill as well as uphill. So trekking poles are lifesavers and a must for alpine hiking. And alluding to our last portion about the medical situation, when I had that really bad injury in my knee and going down the mountain from a 14er, I had trekking poles, and if I had not, that would have been a really regrettable experience. But they were almost like crutches for me and really relieved a lot of the pressure on one of my knees so that I could get down the mountain. And again, it took a lot less time and a lot less pain to get back to base camp when I had injured my knee. So that's another benefit to trekking poles, are medical emergencies as well. They act as almost makeshift crutches. Next up on the docket is your clothing. You gotta have really good clothing, I believe, that's going to work well for you. And a lot of people, they don't really realize when you go to an alpine level, it's always going to be rather cold year round. I mean, you just got to expect that. For here in the Rockies, I mean, at 8,000 feet, it could be like 90 degrees, but then you get up to 10 to 12,000 feet, and it's going to drop down to 55 to 60 degrees. I mean, there's a massive swing. And then again, the exposure that we've kind of been talking about. So you may be dealing with wind, you may be dealing with rain. I've had it snow on me in the middle of July here at, I was about at 11,000 feet, and it snowed on me. So you really got to think about your clothing, and whatever it may be at your trailhead, expect it to be quite a bit cooler and quite a bit windier than where you're starting out at. So layers is key. I always make sure that I have long pants, even if I'm kind of hot at the beginning. By the time I'm at the top, I'm so glad that I have long pants. I usually try to do, a lightweight type of pant, but really think through that as well as the layering. Now for me, I use my Outdoor Research Ferocity hoodie. This thing is water resistant, so I mean, if I'm in a downpour for 3 hours, I am going to get soaked. But if it rains on me for a good 30 minutes, I'm going to be protected enough, and I'm not going to be sopping wet. It is amazing breathability. It has really good wind blockage. It has a good hood. It really functions well. You're going to pay for it. It's about $130, $100 to $130, but lots of different color combinations that exist out there, and has been my go-to kind of outer layer for I think 4 years now here at the channel for all my trekking year round. Summer and winter, it's like my outer shell layer that I always carry with me. I will always have an extra rain poncho, so if I am in a complete downpour, at least I'll have that protection. And when I say rain poncho, I'm talking like a 99-cent to like a $5, cheapo rain poncho. Those things work. They're lightweight, and they're backup to the gear that I currently wear. But then I'll usually start out at the bottom of the trail with a t-shirt that is a good blend. It's not just cotton. You do not want to do a cotton base layer of any kind. Could be wool, could be a hybrid blend, and then I'll usually do one long sleeve shirt that is also a hybrid blend, and then I'll have that Outdoor Research hoodie. That's what I carry, but I have a 3-level, technically 4 if we include the poncho, 4-level layering system. So depending on weather conditions, depending on situation, time of year, I'm usually set to go. And with that clothing aspect, think also about your hands. I love good quality, either goat or deer hide leather gloves. There is something about leather gloves that has always connected with me. They're ultra durable. I can handle heat. I can handle cold. They are fantastic wind blockers. Depending on the style you get, great dexterity. I'll usually get them at hardware stores, either Home Depot, Lowe's, or even more local, smaller stores will usually have something to offer you. And then finally, a beanie is key. You got to be thinking about your head. That's where you lose the majority of the heat on your body. I will usually do a baseball cap, but then I always make sure that I have kind of a mid to lightweight beanie on me so that I can cover up my ears if we got really big wind gusts, if it starts again, hailing / snow, rain, whatever. I am not going to lose the heat out of the top of my head. And if I did have to spend the night somewhere, even if it's really uncomfortable and even if it's not fun, having a beanie on is really going to save my bacon for a lot of scenarios and a lot of situations. So I always have a lightweight beanie on me and with me when I alpine hike. So what type of tools do you need to take with you when you alpine hike? When you are going miles and miles, usually when I do an alpine hike, I'm not going to be hanging out and doing a bunch of bushcraft and survival tasks in the sense of like building shelters and that type of thing. So what really are good tools to have? What tools can you leave behind? Now, this is just my personal opinion. You can take it or leave it. You can add, subtract. But for me, what I will usually take with me is a 4 to 6 inch blade and fixed blade. And that is absolutely key. You can go as cheap and inexpensive as a Mora heavy duty companion for like $18. You can go really high end and really good quality and get something like an SE6, an SE6HM would be kind of on the bigger side. I wouldn't go any bigger or heavier than that because of this reason. You are at either tree line or getting into tree line and exposed and above where there's literally nothing to use your knife on except for just like cutting material, maybe paracord, clothing, food if you had to, or some animals coming to get you and you got to protect yourself in that way. That's really all you're going to be using that knife for. You're not going to have wood around to help you start a fire usually, or if you do, it's going to be usually dried out or very small, thin trees that are very easy to work with, so you don't need some big chopper, but some hatchet or axe or anything like that. So I'll just list a few of my favorites when it comes to the fixed blades. Some of my favorites would be like a Dark Timber 1911, perfect size there. A Honey Badger if you want to go a little bit bigger. Like I said, SE6. K-bar Jaras, depending on what size you want to go with. The Turok would be a great one. Or the Mora Cansbowl, Mora Garberg, or Mora Heavy Duty Companion. Those are some great options for kind of every size range. An SE4HM I took on the last one in this video that you're seeing a lot of the footage in. That worked fantastic. No issues there. So again, a belt carry fixed blade. And those are just a few of my favorites. I mean, lots of them out there are great for that as long as you keep it lightweight and rather compact. And then a multi-tool. Now I carry a rebar with me from Leatherman because it's compact, has a saw on it, has a plain edge, and has a lot of other extra tools that I could use in medical situations with like the pliers and different things like that. Has a safety cutter blade, all of that. So a Leatherman rebar is essential, I believe, or some other multi-tool that really connects with you so that you can use it to fix gear items, do medical situations, work with different materials, and if need be, you have a saw to be able to do very light duty sawing, cutting, notching, and that type of work. And you still have a plain edge blade to do carving, whittling if you had to, if you broke or lost your belt carry fixed blade. But that's it. Those are the only two tools that I'll carry with me. I don't carry hatchets, I don't carry folding saws, and I don't carry big choppers and machetes and that type of thing because it just doesn't make sense. It just weighs down the pack and you're never going to use them in the scenarios and in the locations where I hike. I found that they're just not worth the weight and the space in the pack for alpine hiking. Now, if I'm at lower altitudes, absolutely, I'm going to be carrying folding saws and hatchets and choppers and all kinds of different stuff like that to make sure I have a good system. But at these high exposed altitudes, you're so high, there's no vegetation really to work with aside from grass and shrubs and tundra and maybe very small, very compact little pine trees and different vegetation like that. Little GT Jr. has been doing fantastic, hanging out. If you've seen some bumping of the camera, that was him just playing around. He's been doing awesome. About to wrap up this video for you guys. And that's what's awesome. Just gonna kind of bring this back in with one more gear item and one more concept. Getting out there, enjoying the outdoors, and taking your kids with you is an amazing, amazing experience. Pass on your love for the outdoors, your love for hiking, and particularly if you like alpine hiking, as soon as you can. Now, he has not been up that high. We've taken him, you know, on vehicles up that high, and been able to do that. But as soon as he's able, we're going to begin to do that and get him up there. And you guys are going to see videos as long as the channel lasts and continues to go. But I'll end with this. Are you ready to get down? Okay. I'll end with this. Just stay away from the camera. Is your packs. I usually, now because I'm a YouTuber, I always have to carry more with the camera gear and all that, and this may, you know, apply to you as well. But I would absolutely look for packs that are lightweight, because the lighter the weight, the better when you're alpine hiking, right? I mean, you don't want to be trucking up 40, 50 pounds unless you're, you know, practicing for something, or you're in the military or something like that, and you're going to go over 5 peaks and get back down, and you got to carry your weapon and all that other stuff. What I would suggest to you is to look for something that's going to have a great suspension system, that's going to be very comfortable for you, and that's going to have a really good waist strap and a really good sternum strap and be very comfortable on the yoke. Those are the things you got to look for. And as lightweight as possible. There's so many options out there. Osprey makes some great stuff. KELTY makes some great stuff. Mountainsmith makes some great stuff that is lightweight and going to give you the layout that you need for that. And I usually would look for me personally, 28 liters is about the smallest I can handle with still carrying some camera gear, and then like 35 is like max. So anywhere in that literage, if you can do it with lighter, smaller packs, you know, like a 20 liter or something like that, great. For me, because we did a backpacking trip on this particular video that I'm showing you, we did a backpacking trip up to 10,000, and then we hiked from 10,000 to 12,300 feet. I had to pack in a lightweight bag, so I did a 28 liter Beast from Matador. I'm going to be doing a video on that soon. That was a great heavy duty, because it's Cordura, but still lightweight at about 20 ounces, 28 liter pack that could carry all the supplies that I've been talking about today and some camera gear, and got me up to that peak and back down in a really good fashion. But it had all the things that I'm talking about in the sense of comfortability, sternum strap, belly strap, and really was able to carry a good load well. And that's key, without sacrificing on overweighting the bag and overweight of the pack itself. Well, that's it, guys. I really hope that this video is just giving you some food for thought, concepts, ideas, things to think about, so that on your next alpine adventure, regardless if this is your very first one you're ever doing or you're doing it all the time, you just need some food for thought and give you a different perspective. I hope that's what you've gotten in this video, to prepare you to have the best experience possible at higher altitudes when you're enjoying the outdoors and having a great time doing it. So thank you so much for coming over here today and checking out the channel. Please subscribe, comment, like, share this video. If you're a current subscriber, you rock. Thank you so much. Make sure you've hit that bell icon so it shows up in your news feed and in your stream. If you're not a current subscriber, I invite you to become part of the GT family. We're throwing out videos like this every single week, concept videos, reviews, ideas, and just having a great conversation with the family that we've built here at the channel. Finally, guys, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.